Okay, any questions? Yeah. Why should we get rid of mine, Joe? Easy. No, go ahead. Yeah.
Dr. Keating, welcome to Los Angeles again. Yeah, we always enjoy your talk. Very enlightening. In your talk, you did mention about the economic factor. Given the fact that Ukraine situations, Russia can cut off the natural gas to Europe and to Ukraine, so Putin can do whatever he wants. Now, the economic integration between Taiwan and China is getting deeper and deeper, and to the point maybe Taiwan depends on China too much. Is that a factor in the future? Is that one of the reasons that China not care too much about the one country, two system in Hong Kong? Because they don't use that. They don't need that to entice Taiwan into their camp. Can you comment on the economic factor?
Okay, no, good question, and good reference to the Ukraine situation and Russia. Now, in a way, this is where, Russia does have Europe over a type of barrel. They depend a lot for them on gas and whatnot. But economic factors are interesting in history, that they, in a way, they have immediate pressure, but in another way, they create opposites. Now, this is you can't see it too well, but this is a cover of my book, The Mapping of Taiwan, that several of you got. Interestingly enough, this is a map of the Dutch map. North is here, east here, west, south here. And here's Taiwan on the Tropic of Cancer. Here are the Spice Islands. Here are the Philippines. I purposely whited out the Philippines to show the relationship of the Spice Islands to Taiwan. So first I'm going to talk on this idea of economics. Spain and Portugal had almost 100-year monopoly of shipping spices from the Spice Islands back to Europe. And that was cut off because the Ottoman Turks, the spices used to flow up through India, the Gulf of Arabia, and so forth, and then they would go to Venice and to Europe. The Ottoman Turks blocked that off. They created a block on the monopoly of spice flow, and they could charge whatever they wanted for spices to Europe. You kind of had them over a barrel. But then Spain and Portugal said, hey, we can also go to the Spice Islands. We don't have to depend on the flow. So Portugal went down around Africa. Spain went west. Columbus didn't figure the circumference of the earth right. He ran into America, luckily. But eventually Spain got to the Spice Islands. And for about 100 years, the Spanish and the Portuguese had a monopoly of the spice flow coming to Europe. And then in the 1580s, the Netherlands had been a part of the Spanish Habsburg Empire. They were getting independent. But the Dutch through Linschoten, and this is all in my book, basically the Portuguese wanted to keep the Dutch in tow. And the Dutch had the transshipment from Portugal to the rest of Europe. And the Portuguese says, we're not going to give it to you anymore, we're going to give it to the Germans. And they cut them out of the spice trade. But then the Dutch were inventive and they said, we'll get our own ships, we'll go over there, and we'll get the spices ourselves. And they and the British broke the Spanish-Portuguese monopoly that had existed for 100 years. Now, coming at this a little bit backdoor, but to show how immediate monopolies can eventually be overcome by, now the Spice Islands are nothing. You know, people used to fight for them, and there were many wars over it. Now they're nothing. They figured out other ways. They also figured out how to plant spice trees in other regions, other colonies. But so right now, Russia does have a control. But you know, how much control does it have? The U.S. has a base in Guantanamo, Cuba, right? Where do we get our water from? From Cuba, our age-old enemy. How they work that out, I'm not sure. You know. Yeah, but there are always ways that things are being worked out. Jinmen gets a lot of stuff from China. How this is worked out, I'm not sure. I mean, your point is good. Economic dependency is a real caution, and that's what the sunflowers were about. That's what all this cross-strait service trade agreement, who does it help, who does it disadvantage? We want to discuss it clause by clause. And there are anywhere 60 to 80 different industries involved. So to go over that clause by clause is going to take a while. But it's in Taiwan's benefit. You know, Taiwan should not put itself in this place where it's so dependent. That's always economically the... Here's our owner of the DoubleTree Inn. Thank you for hosting us. Now, this man is a smart businessman. I am sure he does not have just one supplier of anything, right? And he is not totally dependent on anyone for his food or whatever services it brings in. He knows you need more than that. So maybe we should send him to advise the defense. Go over the cross-strait trade agreement, you know, whose advantage, who not. Don't get caught in a barrel. So it's a good point. I don't think long-term, you know, Putin, and he's got them right now, I mean, he can do, but you can't hold, I found in doing this book, you cannot hold a monopoly forever. It's amazing that in history has just shown the Dutch were predominant after the Spanish and Portuguese, then the British became. British now are down, you know. The monopoly flows, trade, and that what is an immediate advantage can be lost in the future. So, in one sense, yes, we got to be real careful, but I also, you know, don't see it as Taiwan's going to capitulate. And if China has trouble with Hong Kong, they're really going to have trouble with Taiwan. Okay, yeah.
请主办单位帮忙我做一个翻译。我有三个真底真来的问题，请你翻译。就要请问这个Dr. Keating第一个问题，中华民国为什么伫迄个联合国无国家的名？头一个，无国名。是啊，中华民国伫这个ROC啦，伫联合国为什么无名？这头一个问题。第二个问题，第二个就是台湾主权确实伫什么国、什么人的手中？这是第二个问题。台湾主权伫什么国、什么人的手中？最后一个问题，台湾若是要独立，是要对什么国、什么人独立出来？以上三个问题。
Dr. Keating, I'm your alumni. 1970, I'm chemistry major. I'm so proud of you. Thank you for your eloquent speech. Give him a big round of applause, okay? Okay, from now on, the question should be brief, short, concise, and to the point, okay? Don't linger around, okay? And Mr. Zheng has some question. In United Nations, Taiwan has no name, no country, no name of the country. How can he do it? Like now, okay? Like KMT, you know. I didn't even know.
台湾的主权是伫什么国、什么人的手中？
Okay, Taiwan sovereignty is under which country? China or Republic of China? I don't believe it, right? Taiwan is Taiwan. I can decide. 伊个问题哦，其實攏同款。
台灣要獨立是對什麼國、什麼人的手中獨立出來？
If Taiwan want to be independent, where should Taiwan be, originate from? Okay? Okay, please answer the question.
Okay, where should Taiwan originate? I mean, well, of course, the one problem is in the UN that, that how are you going to convince all these other countries? What, we've got about 22, 23 allies that recognize Taiwan, and the other, about 180 countries that bow to China's wealth. I think that will eventually crack, but this is even, part of this whole thing is almost the U.S. creation. Well, first, the losing of the UN seat is Chiang Kai-shek's problem. He didn't want to have two and all that. And I got a chapter in one of my books on that. But the problem that the U.S. created, if you ask the U.S. State Department right now, what is its position on Taiwan after World War II, they will say undecided. Now, we are what? Some 60, 70 years after World War II. This is one of the longest undecideds in history. The war ended in 45. 52 was the San Francisco Peace Treaty. That's 7 years from the end of the war. And all the San Francisco Peace Treaty says is Japan will give up Taiwan. Does not say to who. One possibility in my mind, one possibility would be to China. Another possibility would be to the Republic of China. But few people talk about a third possibility to the Taiwanese. That Japan could give Taiwan back to the Taiwanese. Because the peace treaty does not say who. Doesn't say to China, doesn't say to the ROC. And the U.S. position is still, I've heard them say it, and they will say it officially, even if they have a one China policy, they will say Taiwan's fate is undecided. Now, that's, in my mind, the longest undecided in history. It's kind of like, if a man is asking a woman to marry him, he says, well, I'll let you know about it, I'll think about it. 67 years later, he says, it's too late, honey, don't worry about it. So that is it, but how to get in? Because, of course, right now, China is on the Security Council. It can veto anything in the UN. We have to get enough countries to eventually say, look, even though right now China is the world's manufacturing country, everyone runs to them for cheap labor, that is starting to change. And the issue is, will China fall apart? And everyone realize, hey, we can put our factories in Indonesia, we can put them here, China's getting belligerent in the South China Sea, it's belligerent in the East China Sea. You know, wake up and smell the coffee. The people are slowly starting to do that. Like I say, I feel I'm Cassandra all the time. I make prophecies and no one believes me. Okay, but that's the issue. It's a big, complex thing that is we got to convince the whole world.
Dr. Keating, I have a question for you. Okay, China even today still bullying on Taiwan. You think if someday China attack Taiwan, will U.S. defend Taiwan or not? Thank you.
Okay, another good question. Will the U.S. defend Taiwan?
25 words or less.
You got 1 minute.
45 words or less, I will say, I would not bet the farm on it. I would not bet the farm on it. The U.S., if anyone goes back, remember what happened in Hungary and Budapest. The U.S. didn't quite stand by Hungary a lot of times. Eventually that worked it out, but it's not just, to me, China's got, in many ways, a lot more to lose if it attacks Taiwan. It can always hold this stick up there, but what's it going to do? Kill the goose that lays the golden egg? There's some Chinese that would do that. There's some Chinese, they're Taukapaiki. If you remember, there was a Chinese general, they were talking about China's missiles might reach Los Angeles, like all you LA people. But the U.S. has more missiles further back, and they could attack China. And some China general said, well, even if you wipe out everything east of Xi'an, Xi'an's pretty far back there. He says, that's okay, we'll still fight. That's talk about but that's being Chinese. It's possible war in that, but I really think if China's right now they're learning a lesson in Hong Kong. They could put down Tiananmen Square. Those were their own people. They didn't have that solid a sense of democracy. They had a sense of democracy for sure in Tiananmen, but it was not, Hong Kong is much more pervasive, and Taiwan is much more pervasive still. This is be fighting in the streets, and you definitely would have to kill the goose that lays the golden egg. Would China do it? Some Chinese would.
Last question. Don't you think that Hong Kong now they throw a big spanners on China regime? Don't you think so? In other words, teach them a lesson. Teach China a lesson. The Hong Kong movement. Give China a heavy lesson.
They're getting a wake-up call, I would say. It's very hard to teach China a lesson. The only way, Chinese, it's a power culture. Remember what I told you about Mongolia. The only reason Mongolia got free is because Russia was a stronger army at that time than China. And Mao knew it. Mao knew that he depended on Russia. And as I say, we got to learn from the Russians how to deal with China. So when some people in the State Department, as I hear them periodically say, well, we're close to a breakthrough with getting an understanding with the Chinese, and I say, ni tao ka pai.
There is a group of people, they claim they are Taiwan civil government, Taiwan政府. This group of people, I read my email this morning. It they have people in Japan that they've been, over the years, recently actually, each time when Taiwan had election, they will tell the people in Taiwan, don't go to give your vote because the Republic of China is not a country. We deny for this kind of government. However, my opinion is, if Taiwanese don't go to the vote, how can you knock down the KMT government? Therefore, and then the most threatening issue is this morning, but that I read from my email said that this group of people, they are going to, in Mandarin's name, there is a WUFI, War of United for Taiwan Independence. And then they said that they are 美國嘅台灣獨立聯盟專名是台灣獨立建國聯盟。And then this civil government, they have a claim they are Taiwan 獨立聯盟. They try to confuse the Taiwanese people. Most Taiwanese people know the independence of Taiwan people, WUFI. That's a very long time name. We have been, there's people trying to get independence for the Taiwan land. And now this group of people going from Japan to Taiwan to tell the people we are independent movement people. And the people don't go to vote for the year-end November's election. This has been a big threat to me, I believe that to the Taiwan people. They try to confuse. So, what's your advice? And have you heard about this group?
What's my advice about November or
No.
the?
Okay, this is Taiwan civil government. They try to go to Taiwan to tell the people don't do the election in the November's election. Don't give the vote to November's election. And this is a big threat to Taiwan's society, the people in Taiwan.
Okay, yeah, and just like, China always used the threat of chaos to say, keep things down. So, but for Taiwan, well, first remember the statement I had there, he who does not vote has no right to complain. So you gotta vote. But the November elections, and I'm not sure I'm answering you correctly, but eventually what the Taiwanese have to get control of the legislative yuan. They can win the presidency in 2016, but they also have to win the legislative yuan, because that's what controls the whole country, that combination, and that's the long struggle. I think November is going to be a very indicative election. The KMT has a good chance of losing. There's 9 major cities. They have a good chance of losing 7. Maybe even 8 out of that. But I think New Taipei City, they're going to win no matter. But Taipei, Shanlian, well, anyway, I'll stay and sign those books for people.
That's the prerogative of president of organization. And I guess I came here to upstage the speaker a little bit. But what we have here is a presentation to Jerome Keating, and I will show it to you from here, but I want to present this to you. It says, the Friends of Taiwan is honored to present this special award to Jerome F. Keating, PhD, a prolific writer and talker, an educator in Taiwan, a strong supporter of justice, human rights, and democracy. In appreciation and recognition of your promotion of the mission and objectives of the Friends of Taiwan Incorporated, and sincere thanks to you for your persistent advocacy and defender of Taiwan's human rights and democracy. Signed, Ted R. Anderson, President of Friends of Taiwan. President.
Thank you very much.
Someone would have to go to church in the morning.
Time to wage up, wage up. Okay, come on, brother. Want to come on?